So I just saw that it's the 23rd anniversary of Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines. And let me just let me just cut straight to the chase, man. Let's cut the bullshit. I don't like this movie. I don't, man. I know this movie has surprisingly a really large fan base out there, but I don't like it. I don't, man. It's not a task to get through like Genesis, and it's not as frustrating and just dragging out like Dark Fate is. But this was the beginning of the end for me, as far as like, not at the time because I still had faith in what was to come, but this was when shit started to get out of control. Not even out of control in like a, it's so entertaining like on some Fast and Furious out of control shit where they just get more and more insane as they go along, and it's still entertaining. This was just, what are we doing? What is this casting? What is this direction we're going in? Now, story wise, it's not terrible. You know, the ending sets things up perfectly for another sequel, for, you know, the war and Judgment Day and shit like that. But this movie, man, like, dude, I don't even have to ask, but it's like the ceiling was so incredibly high after Terminator 2, man. Terminator 2, if you tell me it's the greatest sequel of all time, I'm not even gonna argue you down. If you tell me it's the best Terminator movie, I'm not gonna argue you down because you're right about that. I prefer it over the first one. But Terminator 2 was just a monumental event of a movie from start to finish. Every level, every bit of casting, every bit of writing, every performance, the special effects, the practical effects, like all of it. So we get to, you know, we go from James Cameron to Jonathan Mostow. Wasn't familiar with the dude back in the day, but I remember seeing this for the first time, yo, and I was like in my mind, I was like, oh, this is the new T1000, because we didn't really know what to call her. You know what I'm saying? I know she was TX or whatever it was, but I was like, oh, this is the new T1000. I wonder what she can do. First thing she did was, you know, grab some clothes, steal a car, make her titties bigger. And as a kid, I'm like, all right, that's cool. That's fucking impressive. I don't even know what else she could do, but that right there was impressive to kid version of me. But you know, when I remember seeing this shit, man, and when Arnold shows up, you know, he does the whole "I need your clothes, your boots, your motorcycle" shtick. It doesn't go on. It's not as epic. It's not epic at all. You know, as like it was in the first two movies. But he goes into this bar, and there's a guy dancing on stage, and the women are cheering him on, and you know, the dude tells him talk to the hand, and he's like, move bitch, wait your turn, or whatever he says to him. So Arnold crushes his hand, he walks out with the outfit on, and then he puts these, like, I don't remember if they were starry or glittery colored sunglasses on. And I'm like, what? Like, even as a kid, I couldn't even wrap my head around what it was we were about to get into. And I'm like, all right, I'll give it a pass. But then you got Nick Stahl. Like, we went from Edward Furlong, who was just a ball of energy, badass. You know, he was so resourceful, so useful, so smart. Um, you know, he wasn't like the average annoying kid in movies like that, man. And you go from him to adult John Connor with Nick Stahl. Nick Stahl is, look, man, I can deal with Jason Clarke over Nick Stahl as John Connor, and Jason Clarke, that was such a miscast as John Connor, and he's a terrible John Connor. But Nick Stahl as John Connor is so cringe, even when he tries to like give us familiar sounding lines where he's like, you don't remember "Hasta la vista, baby"? I was like, you didn't say that. I don't buy for a second that you are the John Connor from Terminator 2 at all. Claire Danes, man, she's cool. That's Catherine Brewster. She's tough. You know what I'm saying? She proves to be tough. But just the pairing of her and John Connor, I'm like, there's no way he would bag her. Like, I feel like even if the fate of the world depended on it, I don't think she'd still fuck him in real life. There's no way that these two are going to be together and lead the resistance, man. I just don't see it at all. This is when the Terminator series, man, and I say this all the time, the first one was the horror movie. The second one was the action movie. This is a cartoon. This is a cartoon, yo. This shit is so goofy and slapstick, and like just the CG doesn't always hold up that good. The practical effects is like, all right, cool, but the set pieces as far as the action sequences go, they're not all that good, man. They try to recreate the sequence with a big truck and Terminators swinging from the crane and all that shit. I'm just like, yeah, whatever, man, whatever. I don't care. I don't care. Then they try to do this funny, goofy ass road trip segment of the movie with Catherine Brewster, John Connor, and the Terminator, and I'm just like, yo, like, this movie's just not good, man. Kristana Loken's not terrible, but I feel like if the T1000 was an Android phone, then Kristana Loken's TX is just an iPhone. Like, she's the T1000, only she can manipulate other machines. It's like, all right, whatever, man. They even have the earlier models of the machines that are just rolling around like those fucking, I cannot remember what those toys were called back in the day, man. It had a name, and he had like he spoke to you and shit. They used to sell it at Toys R Us, but they're just moving around shooting shit up, like, and I get it, they're the earlier models. They are like like the paperweights or some shit. But this movie's so bad, yo. It's so incredibly bad. It's not, like I said, Genesis is by far the worst in the series, but this was the beginning of the end, man. And it's a shame because, like I said, the story's not all the way terrible because it sets things up perfectly for Salvation, but because there was no Arnold in Salvation and it was PG-13, everybody was like, oh, you can't do Terminator without Terminator, and then they brought Terminator back in Genesis and it still was ass. But this one, man, this is when the series started to, you could see that like when certain franchises lose a director, or a director not necessarily lose a director, but when the director moves on to other projects after he's done, like, let's say 2 or 3 movies in the series, you kind of start to see in some cases that this series needs that motherfucker. And James Cameron, yeah, he co-signed Genesis. I don't think any of that is his fault. He co-signed Genesis. I think he co-signed Dark Fate, whatever. He stamped his name on it and got a check, whatever. But this movie could have highly benefited from having Edward Furlong, who I believe was going through, some issues with, addiction and things like that. It's unfortunate, but this could have benefited from having him. I think if Linda Hamilton was still, if she died in the story, okay, cool. But James Cameron should have came back for this. I promise y'all, he should have came back for it. Whatever his his budget was, or whatever he was asking for to jump back in the director's seat, I feel like he should have got it. I don't know what he was directing at the time. I think by the time this came out, he hadn't made I think he did Titanic in like '97. He hadn't made another movie after that until Avatar. I think he didn't have to. The motherfucker's caked up. But this movie, man, like, it's just nothing super memorable about it. There are no sequences that are super memorable about this. Now, I do like the fact that TX was going, when she came to present day, she was going around murdering the resistance members, the people that would go on to lead the resistance. I like that a lot. It's kind of weird that she licked the person's blood to find out, who it was and all this other shit, but Arnold couldn't even save this movie, man. And I love Arnold Schwarzenegger, my favorite action star of all time. But it's just bad, man. And then the third act sequence in that bunker, wherever they hold up at it, and just wait for the shit to hit the fan, it's okay. But I feel like you definitely could have, maybe they had to use CG when Arnold was like his half face and all of that. It's a cool looking effect, but you could have went practical with it. I just feel like this movie just went goofy, man. I feel like it just embraced the campiness of this shit, man. I feel like there was humor in the first 2 movies, but I feel like it was not forced upon us like it was in this movie, man. I don't even know what I'd rate this shit. I would have to go back and listen to my commentary for it. And I know I didn't enjoy that, but what a waste.